This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought.
because love is my first technique.
it's now time for the show.
Dr. Daniel Knowles here for the Mile High podcast at altitude, where you will be in August. RiseUpToMileHigh.com is where you can get all the information, and make sure you hit subscribe wherever you are watching, listening to this podcast, whether it be Spotify or iTunes or YouTube, whatever it might be, that you can watch and see podcasts, so that you never miss any Mile High tick. And we are with the extraordinary, I'm a big fan, Ian Bulow, who's at sea level, but he will be at Mile High altitude this August from Mile High 14. Dr. Ian, so glad to have you here.
It's so glad to be here. I always enjoy connecting with you, Doc. And yeah, this is me just vision casting where I'd like to be. I mean, I'm in the clinic and my home is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where it's very snowy and cold. But I thought I would just see the sea a little bit, you know? And then, yes, I can't wait to join you guys at Mile Up. That's going to be
Well, we'll
fantastic.
see you there, and thank you for being a really inspired chiropractor, for being committed to clinical excellence. I always love when I see that in docs, you know. And also, Dr. Ian is a diplomat in chiropractic, Cranio-Cervical Junction. He's a past president of the ICI Council on Upper Cervical and currently serves as the president of the Blair Upper Cervical Chiropractic Society. As you can see, he's an underachiever, but we really appreciate him. And Dr. Ian, let's first of all start off with this. How did you get excited, interested on the focus of the upper cervical spine?
Yeah, I've always been sort of an analytical person, you know,
Okay.
attention to detail, specificity matters, things like that. But honestly, I guess I'm a servant at heart, you know, like I think like anybody, especially in the Mile High community, I love people and I love serving people and I want to help people. And so when I was at school, there was a gentleman who came and spoke who had trigeminal neuralgia, which I'm sure a lot of the seasoned docs know what that is, but a pretty excruciating pain syndrome of your face. And this is someone who was legitimately going to kill himself. And he told his story about that. And for me, it really moved me, you know, on an emotional level, because and it wasn't that, you know, you hear about people that are suicidal or depressed or anxious, and you have a vision in your mind of what that means. And so for me, suicidality was something that people do as an act of desperation. You know, I've lost control of my life. There's no hope for me. I'm going to kill myself. But that's not what I heard. I heard this gentleman and his story and his decision to commit suicide was actually of almost, I dare say it, but it's almost of peace. He had a peace about his decision to kill himself, which to me is a very dark idea. Like that, to me, sounds really dark. Like it's worse than desperation. Like I think when you've come to this decision where you're comforted that you're going to kill yourself, like that to me is so strange and so foreign. I was just captivated by that. But on the flip side of that story was his restoration and then his love for chiropractors as a result. You know what I mean? He had specifically results. It just so happened to be with an upper cervical procedure. And he's talking in this room of 20-something know-it-all engineering, analytical minded students, you know what I mean? That we get a little bit too objective when it comes to the humanistic relationship, right? You know, we're used to our thermography and our leg checks and our x-rays, and we might forget that there's a human being in front of us. You know what I'm saying? And I think that goes for everybody in any technique, is you forget the service side, the heart side and the heart posture, right? Mm-hmm. And so here's this guy who just got done telling these students about his suicidation or whatever that word, ideation. But then on the flip side, he could tell we weren't totally engaged, and he would stop every 5 minutes and he'd look at us and he'd say, "Did I tell you that I love you yet?" And this was like a guy in probably his 60s, and I'm in my early 20s. And there's all these students, and he says, "We need you. Like, I don't know if you realize this, but we need you. And we need you to take this work seriously." And it just hit me like right in the heart, right in the chest. I was like, holy smokes. Like, and so after that, I'm like, I can't go back to like rubbing backs. You know what I mean? Like, if I could help that guy, then I don't, athletic tape doesn't amuse me anymore, So that's really what set me on that path. That and the attention to detail stuff. And then from there, just I was at Palmer. They had a Blair elective. I got plugged into Blair. I really liked the analytics. I started teaching it, and just kind of then life took over, right? And I just kind of went on my way.
You touched on something, and so often chiropractors say to your success. And there's something that I watch that I get pained about, and you may too. I don't know. People, in my view, humbly, I think chiropractors have the most powerful healing art in the history of the planet in their hands. And again, whether they do Blair or network, I think chiropractic is a pretty powerful healing art. And I see so often chiropractors, particularly really great philosophical ones or really great clinicians in some particular area of focus, not successful. You may see that at times too. I don't know. And that really, why do you think that is?
Oh man, that's such a good question, and it's so important. I think so. I'll speak for the upper cervical community, and then I'll probably just speak more broadly. The upper cervical community, when I first graduated, I heard and saw a lot of that, and it might still exist, and I just might be in my silos surrounded by really good people that don't have that problem anymore. But I remember when I graduated, you hear those horror stories. And with the upper cervical folks, this might resonate with other techniques, I don't know. But with the upper cervical folks, I think a lot of them are so into the details, you know what I mean? That you, like I said before, you lose or don't have the capacity, or it's not developed yet for the humanistic relationship that you're truly in. You know what I mean? When you stand in the service of others, it doesn't matter if you're a general contractor, a chiropractor, a lawyer. If you're dealing with human beings, then you need to have that relational capacity. You have to have the capacity for relationship. Now, yes, it is a professional relationship, and that's important too. You have to know where the boundaries are and how to be a professional. But before all that, it's a human to human relationship. And I think the more kind of I think it's the left brain, that's the analytical side, if I'm not mistaken. When you get into the details and the weeds, you lose that capacity, and that's to your detriment. And that's, you hear about it with the surgeons. They can be the most brilliant surgeon, but they say, oh, that surgeon's a real jerk. You know what I mean? Or they get sued because they lack that capacity. So I think to me, that's one of the reasons. That's the more specific one to the upper cervical community. And then I think the other reason is the fourth leg of the chiropractic stool is the business leg, and just knowing how to run. Like, that's the professional side, right? So first you have that human relational side, but then you're also a professional. Like, this is not a game. It's not just a philosophical experiment. These are people that want a service, and you should collect money for that service. Because if you don't provide the service, then what are you there for? They're not there just to have a friend. And then if you don't collect the money for that service, then you're no good, because you're going to go out of business. And then you're not that you're no good, you're not going to be of any service because you can't afford to stay open. So I think there has to be a level of professional self-awareness to know how to conduct yourself, both independently with the patient, like how to conduct yourself as a professional, but then how to run an actual business. And we need to know these skills and have these skills. Otherwise we go out of business, and then the whole thing's over. It's a house of cards.
Mhm.
now you're not good to anybody. You know what I mean? And it's heartbreaking. I was serving a guy, a chiropractor, who went out and he practiced out, and I can't remember what country it was, but it was somewhere with like he had his yogi that he was like doing a lot of like meditative work and chiropractic work out in, I can't remember if it was India or somewhere. And sadly, he's now in an old oil town in Western PA, living on assistance. And but he's brilliant. Like he is brilliant philosophically. He's intuitive, like to energy, and he could tell he has a brilliant mind.
Uh-huh.
But somewhere, so he had that first part, the human connection, he had the brilliance. But if we don't have that professional self-awareness or business capacity, I just think it's to our detriment. It's not
Mhm.
sustainable, at least. You know what I mean? So I think we got to have both.
Yeah, for a long time I wanted Mile High just be philosophy, 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 and then you remember the year we made like we're gonna make focus on art, and you were there,
Mhm.
and I realized that we wanted to have philosophy, science, art, and business, to have
Yeah.
different aspects of it as part of it, and because that saddens me. I've had walked into Ubers and there were chiropractors driving it. I've gone to baseball teams and I found a chiropractor handing me a hot dog who recognized me, and things like that. And I don't mean to shame people
Yeah.
at all. And it just saddens me. And there's, Colorado has 5 to 6 million people in the state, okay, which is a lot of people. And there's something like 1,500 chiropractors. There's a shortage of chiropractors, for sure.
Mhm.
If you looked at like if everybody woke up and said they wanted subluxations corrected, um, we couldn't take care of them. We couldn't. So there should
Yeah.
be, there should be like we're struggling with the number of patients that we have. That there we that's a quality problem. That should be the situation.
Yeah.
And but I think chiropractors they don't think of it as a hobby rather than a business. And I think
Yep.
the two problems I see so often is marketing. They're marketing, and then HR. They didn't get an HR degree and they don't know how to they struggle with teams. Because
Yeah.
those are the two things. It's the new pay, and there's more than that, but like two biggest brushstrokes things that I'm like, wow, and they don't realize that they're running a business. So and they're not going to
Yeah.
keep ticking, right? If they don't run a business as passionate as they want to be. And
Yeah.
and yeah. So and then
And they'll
people
burn
use
out.
the what? Say again. Say it again.
I was gonna say they'll burn out. They'll burn out
Right.
at one of the stages. I think that we first have to learn how to serve the person in front of us and
Hmm.
have that technique. Then to survive though, we have to learn how to be a professional, right? But that professional level could end with just you being a professional service provider, meaning like it's really only a business if it can exist without you in it. And that's sort of
Right.
like where you talk about the HR skills. Like
Right.
you eventually have to have the skills to replace yourself. So you have to learn marketing in
Right.
the beginning because you can't
Hmm.
pay the marketer. So you have to do that. But once you learn that
Right.
skill, then you need to have someone do that for you so that you can serve the people that the marketing is generating.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you'll be 1 foot in marketing, 1 foot in clinician, and you'll never really get above that because your time is going to be split. Like there's only so many hours in the week, and eventually you have to replace yourself in all the different capacities of a chiropractic clinic, so that you're either going to be, even as a clinician, if you're working 20 to 40 hours as a clinician, you either have to recognize I'm going to cap out here, or I either need to hire a CEO to be the
Hmm.
CEO of my practice because I'm not
Right.
doing it. I'm not being the
Right.
CEO if I'm taking care of patients. Or I need to bring on someone else to help me take care of patients so that now I can be the CEO of an actual business. So, and I think that's something really cool. Like we talk about a lot lately, this concept of self-awareness. So like,
Hmm.
and I think this is good to talk about because you could be, remember I mentioned the surgeon who
Right.
who like everybody hates, but they go to him because they're the best surgeon. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
You could be the best clinician and be a terrible business owner and fall
Right.
out of practice, like we talked about.
Mhm.
But instead of going selling hot dogs, you should go work for someone else as a chiropractor.
Right.
Because, and I, again, I don't want to pass judgment, but when you look at the value to humanity, like you have in your hands a sacred gift, guard it well. Like you have the ability to clear people of their subluxation so that they can live their life to the fullest. If you want to do that, you should do that, but you don't have to do it on your own struggling. You can find
Right.
someone who's got those business skills. And if it's a good business, you can make great money helping people. And you should do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then I also think that on the other side of it, if you've learned, oh, that's what I was going to say. There's nothing more or less virtuous about the positions in a business chart. They're just positions.
Right.
So you could be the
I
clinician,
like that.
you could be the marketing person, you could be
Right.
the CEO. It doesn't matter. I'd be happy as a lark in any of those positions. I could be the clinician. I could go work for somebody, make
Right.
great money. They could be the CEO. I don't care. I could be in my own practice and hire out a CEO or CFO. Let them pay the bills. Like we might get ego around it. Like, no, it's my business. I have to pay my own bills. No, you don't. You don't. I don't even have to run my own strategic planning meeting if I don't want to. If I don't want to be the
Right.
CEO, let them do it. Let them
Right.
make those quarterly decisions and make the hard decisions and carry all the responsibility. You know what I mean? So
Right.
my point is just self-awareness plays, I think, a big role at every level, and that
Right.
includes those that have the business skills. They could make the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to handle the clinicianal side, and I'm going to hire someone to run all the C-level decisions because I just don't want to do it anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in your own business or working for someone else, I don't think it matters. I think it's
Right.
just, are we serving people at our highest capacity, and are we doing it in a way that is sustainable for the business and sustainable for my personal life as well? You know,
Right.
it boils down to that. Everything else is just kind of like emotion or ignorance, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And there I used to at some point think that the only role is owning a chiropractic office. I mean, this was 2 decades ago, when I got out of school. But now world's change, and there's a lot of value and a lot you can gain by working in an office versus thinking that, I have to own an office, because there are very well run things. I'm sure there's particular offices in the Blair world that are run extremely well. And there's probably some that aren't, like that exists in any kind of area. So, and it is, all of this is something that's missing professionally in the
Yeah.
in the profession.
Well, I think
Clinically,
it's,
what do you go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it's our fault, like as a profession. I
Yeah.
think that very few chiropractors have ever scaled to the point of running an actual business.
Mhm.
And because of that, the working opportunities for students and doctors, newly graduated students and seasoned doctors, the
Mhm.
opportunities are, let's be honest, crappy. They're really crappy opportunities because it's not an actual business. It's more of like a protege and mentor sort of relationship. It's
Mhm.
not like a corporate thing. It's more like if you're a new medical grad and the surgeon hires you to help them do surgery. It's like
Right.
that's not modern. That's not what it is. You're a surgeon. You go and you work for the hospital, you get paid bank, you check in, you clock out, you do your work, you go home. You don't go and do carpal tunnel screenings at the pharmacy. You don't go on TikTok and shake your booty. Like you're a professional surgeon. You know what I mean? And if our profession hasn't scaled to the point to pay good clinicians to do good work, I think the onus is on us as
Right.
people that have been in the profession for decades, because we should have figured that out by now. And I think that we just got to a point where we thought we had a business, but we don't. We just have a professional service. We need to scale to that next level of like accountability on the business side so that we can actually provide opportunities that are worthwhile to these graduates or opportunities to people that don't have that capacity. And that's okay. They might be highly skilled technically,
Right.
have
Right.
no desire to worry about
Right.
spreadsheets and
Right.
business charts and all that crap. but
Right.
we should have those opportunities for them as well. So sorry, just a
Right.
little
No,
bit
no,
of
it's true. It's true, and it's really important to realize, especially when there is an overabundance of spines distorted. Like there's no shortage of people that need chiropractic care. There's a shortage of chiropractors, so it should be the reverse, you know.
Yeah.
And also, I don't feel chiropractors. I mean, there's lots of services that chiropractors and according to their state scope of practice, there's lots of services that chiropractors can do. And there's not like a shortage of people that have subluxations. Like, the people aren't subluxated, so I've got to do another service. There's plenty of subluxated people. It's not like I'm
Yeah.
sitting there and saying, I checked 100 people and they're not subluxated, so I better sell something else.
Yeah.
That's not the
Yeah.
scenario. So
Yeah.
there's plenty of people that come in and like you have the one service that you can deliver that they're not getting anywhere else. So
That's
it,
uniquely you. That
yeah, yeah. So
uniquely
it's
you,
not, yeah.
and you spent $250,000 figuring out how to be able to provide it, and the fact that we walk away. I mean, you think about the business sense of that, right? We invest hundreds of thousands of dollars getting our degrees, and then
Yeah.
we're gonna sell something that like of a 10% profit margin on a product or something. It's just not good business sense.
Right, and
Not even
there's
not only does
plenty of
humanity
people that
need
can
it.
do red light beds. There's plenty of people that have red light bed, and then chiropractors are doing it. Not that there's something good or bad, or it's not a judgment about red light beds. I mean, I'm sure they have
Oh,
plenty
but
of clinical
yeah.
benefit. But
Yeah, there's so many people that could do it, and people need you. It's the thing about like a football in the hand of Tom Brady is worth a lot more than in my hand or even your hands. You know what I mean? Like if you're the
Right.
Tom Brady of chiropractic, you need to be throwing the football
So
because you're worth too much to humanity.
yeah. Now talking about that, what do you think chiropractors are missing clinically? What are some of the things that they're missing clinically, regardless of their
Yeah.
analysis approach?
Well, well, to me, it's sort of like, I think it is the analysis. I think that when people ask questions, so when you say, what are people missing clinically? The only way I would know if they're missing something is if they ask, or if their patients are dropping out of care or not getting results. But a lot of it comes down to the assessments, because people ask all the time, what do you do about this case? What do you do about that case? How do I handle this? How do I handle that? And I feel like we just need to be aware, like, and I like objective things because it's something that you can chart and you can look at, because it's hard for me to make decisions in life if I don't have data to go off of. You know what I mean? Especially if we're going to scale, by the way. If you have multiple doctors and you're running a business that has procedures and protocols, that's like the only way to really scale successful businesses is to have systems in place. But those systems have to be based on objective things. Like I had a patient the other day come in and we did her progress exam. And a lot of her indicators were doing really well. And this is a really tough case, right? And she's going, well, that's it could be that one day, then it's gone the next day, and she's like, I don't know, and she's all over the place. And I kind of challenged her a little bit. I said, well, if we don't have data to go off of, then how will you know if you're winning or losing, like, ever? Like, how you won't know if you're challenged or if you're winning. Like, if there has to be something to base your life on. And this is, now we're talking clinical, right? So having something, and I almost don't care what it is, to base the success or failure of what you do on. It's got to be something.
Other than pain. She had something other than pain.
Yes. Because again, the pain, that's not unique to you as a profession. Take the morphine, right? So this gal, we do quality of life surveys. Her quality of life surveys were objectively better. So then she goes, well, she was trying to like make up reasons why maybe that wouldn't be. And I was trying to tell her, look, if we can't agree on this, then I don't know what we're doing, because I don't know what the goal is then. If the goal is for you to feel better, take morphine, physically. If the goal is for you to feel better emotionally, go see a counselor. Like, I know that might ruffle some feathers, but I'm saying my goal clinically as a chiropractor relates to subluxation, the spine, and the nervous system, which is the definition of subluxation.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know what it is, what's the rules of the game? What am I playing? You know what I mean? Otherwise, I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know what the game is. So we say, like, help me clinically. Okay. That's like saying, help me play football. Great.
Mm-hmm.
What position are you? And what's the play you're trying to execute on? Then I know how to coach you. But if you say, help me play football, and then you show me a salt and pepper shaker, I'm like, well, I don't know how that fits on the field. Like, I don't know what we're playing, so I don't know how to guide. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're going to play the game of chiropractor in a clinical world, then I think you need to have, I would recommend as many things clinically that you can keep track of as professionally reasonable. You know what I mean? So if you palpate, great. Just jot it down. Right. And again, people get offended. Like, I used to get offended as a student whenever you'd say, like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how are you feeling? I'm like, that's symptom management. Well, kind of, but you're objectifying something that's subjective. When I say 0 to 10 and you give me a number, it takes it out of your emotional head and it makes it objective. So now when I feel you, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm going to say, you're saying my palpation is more objective than that symptom. I'm going to say, no, it's not, because you're feeling it. Now, if you say it's a grade 1 spasm, now you made it objective. So now we can agree. So if you're palpating, great. If your leg check, great. If you're looking at their posture, great. If you're doing energy work, great. Write it down. Write down the energy level that you felt or didn't feel. Classify it. Create a something, and then get multiple doctors to be able to repeat that so that it's inter-examiner reliability, but make it something that you start tracking. And that way, I think you can start to have true clinical conversations. Because if without data to base your decisions off of, again, I don't know what game we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all just get into these philosophical things, which is fine. We need the philosophy, but we can't have that. We can't answer that question unless we have data to discuss. Because then it's like, okay, try this, see how it changes the data. Try that, see how it changes the data. But if we're not tracking data, we can't even start the conversation. I don't know if that answers the question. I hope it does.
No, it does. And I want to mention something about all of that. And I'm going to get a little political. And I guess that's okay because it's my show. So,
that's right.
but
it's your game.
You know, here's the thing. Do you think the schools are at fault for that?
Well, that's a great question. So, I mean, ultimately, yes.
Or at least to some degree. At least to some degree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, so the question is, the fault of what? The fault of quality clinical care? Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. Because that is the job of the school. The job of the school, if nothing else, is to prepare a professional chiropractor. And a professional chiropractor is someone that has clinical skills. Because again, it's not just a life philosophy that we have. It's a philosophy, science, and art. And the school's job is to teach you the philosophy, the science, and the art, I would say. I would say all of it. They need to know the science, they need to know why they're doing it, and they need to know how to do it. Ultimately, that is the school. For sure. For sure. I don't know who else it would be. Now, unless we take responsibility for the schools as a profession, then I would take ownership on ourselves to create and enforce better schools and do whatever, but that gets into that political world, which I think you're at that higher level than even I'm at right now.
Well, yeah. Whoa, did you say I'm higher than you in some area? Just want to say
of course.
We have that on tape here. So
far be it to make the assumption that people think that I don't think many people are higher than me. Many people.
and also just I'm higher than you in age because I just said the word tape. And
that's right.
There's no tape anymore.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that says something here, right?
That's right.
But there's lots of things I still say see the tape, without like saying, well, there's actually no.
I always like the save button. For me, I always like that. Whether the icon is a 3.5 floppy disk,
it's
when
still
you
a
hit the
floppy
save button. Yep.
Yeah,
I like that.
because I don't think there's a lot of people that haven't ever seen a floppy,
Exactly. Exactly.
you
That's all
know.
right. We'll forgive them.
Which
Not
which
everyone's a
is
boss.
also interesting. There's a lot of people that graduate chiropractic school and have never seen some kind of instrumentation device relative to chiropractic.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. Like I said, like you said it before with red light, but it's sort of like without recently I was on a call about the reality that subluxation is what defines the profession, you know,
Right,
and
right,
that's regardless of technique. So
right,
the schools should, they owe it. They have like I would say a fiduciary responsibility. Like I'm paying you money
right.
not to be a massage therapist because I could go to school to get that degree from a massage school. If it's a
Hmm.
chiropractic school, then I would think ethically, at the very least, if not legally, they have the responsibility of teaching subluxation because that's what sets the
Hmm.
profession apart. Like without
Hmm.
that, yeah, dear Lord, there's a
Right.
million other things.
And this is I did a video on this the other day. It's not something I'm really known for doing videos on social media, but I did one.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and I had this I overheard this conversation. It was painful to me. And there was students, I just was in the vicinity and like I wasn't trying to listen in on the conversation, but they were two were talking, and they said one of them said, I'm learning upper cervical. I'm glad I'm learning upper cervical. I don't remember what upper cervical approach, but it doesn't really matter relative to this conversation. And they said, I'm glad I'm doing that because I can help people with their headaches. And like my ears perked up, and I was like, well, that's not what you do. And they said, so I want to learn network. And they said so I'm really looking forward to learning network so I can help people with their emotional problems. And I was just like, I wanted to strangle the person from the other side of the room. I was like, because I'm a big fan of upper cervical. I went to Sherman. There's a big upper cervical here. I feel like I got a great education in that area relative to what people get. I'm sure I could be better, but I think that's something I value. And when they said you can, I'm glad I learned upper cervical because I can help people that come in with their headaches. I was like, you
Yeah,
completely missed the education of upper
yeah,
cervical, and
yeah,
you
yeah. Just chiropractic. Yeah,
and
that's
and
the that's
chiropractic.
the that's why we need the philosophy because it's like what we're missing clinically when we say clinically that question, what could people learn clinically or missing clinically, my brain goes to the science and the assessments and the technique and all the rest. But I think that yeah, without the philosophy then we just become the chiro treaters and it's so
Right,
dangerous because then yeah, you're using these techniques allopathically but
right.
you're on the wrong ladder. It's again,
Yep.
it's now you're going to go get the morphine because golly, you want to cure a headache, just inject morphine, man. Like
Right,
why
right. I mean,
what's the point of moving a bone?
it was
Like
so painful to think that they thought the purpose of upper cervical was to fix headaches. And I was just like,
oh wow.
or
Yeah.
or valuing learning network because somehow it's going to help you, emotionally, and that's why I'm going to do this. I'm going to look for the people with emotional problems and then see them, and I'll do network on these people and the people with headaches. I'm going to do upper cervical. It's like you completely missed what
Yeah.
chiropractic is somewhere in this picture. Which then
And
brings this
it's
last question that I want to,
sure.
ask you is if you were in chiropractic school right now, what would you be doing to prepare for a successful future as a chiropractor?
Oh man, that's such a good question. Such an important one. Don't I would say a couple things. I would say don't undervalue where you are, first of all. I think a lot of times it's almost if we're using sports analogies, we're like overshooting where we are, you know what I mean? And
Uh-huh.
so number one, you're in school to learn and become proficient, to become
Uh-huh.
skilled in the art of chiropractic. Now you have to get your philosophy, of course, but like when you graduate, there are people that need to be served, and you're a professional and bills you have to pay. So you need
Hmm.
to get solid on your art. You need to be training and drilling every day. Like honestly, you cannot take it easy and assume it's going to get easier after you graduate. It's not. It's just going to get life accumulates. You're going to have more responsibilities in different areas of your life or in the same area, just more. And
Hmm.
so don't negate the fundamentals. Study the exam. I always tell students they have an amazing opportunity when it comes to social media, influencing, and branding. You're given content every day in your classroom, and if you can make that content relatable to the community, that is one of the biggest communication and marketing skills that you'll need to develop as a chiropractor. And you're being spoon-fed content while you're in school. And you'll study for the test. You'll learn a thing. If you can explain it to someone on a kindergarten level, then you really know it. You know what I mean? Like if you could explain the Krebs cycle to a 10-year-old, I mean, you probably know the Krebs cycle pretty well. And so what you do is you set up accounts for yourself on all social media platforms. Now, legally, I'm not sure if you can say Dr. So-and-so if you're not a doctor yet, but you could say like future chiro or future doctor, and then change the handle later.
Right.
But every day when you're studying for an exam, you should be relating it to the patient. So what does, I don't know, polypeptide bonds have to do with someone's energy levels? I challenge you to answer that. And then that would be your post. You get online, be like, you will not believe how these things called peptide bonds affect your energy level. Let me tell you how. And then you talk about the innate intelligence after you talk about the biology of it all, and then you like get into it. But that's one thing, is just the communication skills. Like do that. Technique is what I started with, actually. So you have to master your technique and get really good at it while you're in school, because that's why you're paying lots of money. Next, communication skills. Take advantage of the classrooms, even the ones that you think suck. Find a way to relate that content to chiropractic. And more importantly, and again, I might get in trouble for saying this, more importantly, make it relate to the patient, because they don't care about chiropractic. You and I do. They don't care. So if you can make the science, the art, and the philosophy of what you're learning in the classroom relate to the common Joe with his headaches or his back pain, or the gal with her issues, make it relatable to them. That is a skill that I'm still learning. Because I like to talk, and I love to talk about chiropractic, but only in the last few years have I really realized the extent at which people don't care. They don't care about me. They don't care about chiropractic. They don't care about the principle. They only care about them, their family, their pain, whatever's going on in their life. So, number one, learn your technique. Number two, relate what you're learning to that person. Make them care about it. And again, the clue, I can't say it loud enough, it's not about you and it's not about chiropractic. It's about them. And then the last thing, and I think this is really important for the professional conversations we've been having, is go visit, honestly, do this as much as you can. Visit clinics, audit clinics. With all due respect to the students out there, you don't know what you don't know. And the worst thing you can do is be like, I'm going to go be this kind of chiropractor because this is what was done to me. That is one straw of hay in a hay bale of the profession of chiropractic. Chiropractic is a beautiful profession with so many applications and so many colors and so many personalities. It's a beautiful thing. Honestly, when I first graduated, I was probably just as dogmatic as the rest of us in terms of like, this is the way and this is the way. But the older I get, the more I appreciate the colors and the tonality and the emotion and the people of the profession. It's a beautiful, humbling thing to be a part of this profession. And you'll know truly what kind of artist you can become when you go and see all the different brushes and strokes and paint colors that are out there. You know what I mean? So do that while you can, because once you graduate, you're going to be working, man. You're going to be working hard. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I got to add something.
Please.
Which is this, and it just came up like, look, one of the things I think people need to do, world according to Danny, is that chiropractors and chiropractic students, and especially in the, and I'm talking about the subluxation adjustment focus crew, have to stop throwing rocks. Like Ian and I are friends because we're on the same vibe as to what chiropractic is. And we're not throwing rocks at each other because we have a different analysis approach, right?
Yeah.
So, and the chiropractors that are going to say, well, you do Gonstead, I'm not, like, so what? Like, you know.
You do chiropractic.
Right.
We could probably agree to throw rocks a little bit at the people who aren't doing chiropractic.
Right. But yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But when people do the infighting about that, there's
Yeah.
so few of us that value
Yeah.
subluxation and have a respect or reverence for the
Yeah.
adjustment, and the analysis. Uh, you know,
How cool would
we
it
need
be?
less of that, and being
Yeah.
more together on those things.
We need to rise up. We need to scale up. We need to get our, this goes back to that business conversation where how cool would it be if we had truly almost like, I hate to use the word hospitals because they have such allopathic baggage for us, but how cool would it be if we had
Hmm.
these multidisciplinary facilities, chiropractic
Hmm.
facilities, healing centers that had multiple technique specialists,
Hmm.
because we're so busy doing our thing that we don't even like expand our consciousness to that. But like, how amazing would that be? That's what I want to do. I want to get out of the day to day so that I can come and hang out with you more and start learning these tonal things so I can apply it more. You know what I mean? But we can't
I gotta say
all.
something. When I was in prereqs, okay, I
Mhm,
said to Donnie, my dad,
mhm,
stepdad, I said, what do you think like that would be the ideal chiropractic scenario? He said if there was a multidisciplinary center of some kind, then when someone
mhm.
needed Logan, they would send him to the Logan person. And need upper cervical, send him to the expert in that area. What you just said,
Yeah,
and that would
yeah.
be pretty phenomenal if there were centers like that.
100%. Yeah. I think that's the vision, man. I think we just birthed the new, maybe we've clarified. We've got to make this happen in our lifetime, Danny. We have got
Well,
to
there we
make it
go.
happen.
We'll have the
And
Knowles Bulow centers, one in Pittsburgh, one in Boulder, Colorado. But then you and I can
love it.
fight about whose name's first.
That's right. That's right. Alphabetical, alphabetical. No, that's funny.
So there you go. Well, I'm really psyched that you're going to be coming from sea level to mile high altitude in August.
August.
So, and thank you for
Yep.
the gifts you bring to chiropractic.
Oh, brother. Thank you. It's an honor and a privilege to be in this world with you at the same time in the same space, working on the same stuff. It's exciting. I can't wait.
Yep, yep. And so keep changing spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic. And remember, you can get the 411. See there, I'm aging myself. 411. I don't think people know what that means anymore. Do you know what that means? 411?
Information, I think, right? In the dial. Yeah. Now it's you get the chat GPT.
Yeah, you can do that at riseuptomilehigh.com. And we look forward to seeing everybody on higher ground in August, Mile High 14. See you
Woo.
there.
See them.